That's right, I'm the guy on YouTube who spoils every movie that gets released, and I think I'm the last person to upload a spoiler for Deadpool. But now that I've seen Deadpool and have received this awesome Deadpool t-shirt in the mail, I'm finally ready to talk about this awesome movie. So Deadpool opens up in the best possible way a movie like this could open up. You see him in a freeze frame in this Jeep taking out all these thugs. But while that's all going on, you see the opening credits, you know, what it tells you about the movie, you know, who directed it, who's starring in it. And the opening credits by themselves are hilarious. Because they all say stuff like, oh, directed by some overpaid hack, starring a likable douchebag, a CGI character, a British villain. You watch it and it leaves you thinking like, this movie knows exactly what it is. This is gonna be awesome. And then we get to the official opening scene of this movie and Deadpool is just sitting in the back of a cab. Best part is he's flicking around this piece of gum that he found on the scene and he accidentally flicks it onto the camera and he just moves up and he just peels it off of the camera lens. Because that just helps play into the comics and the fact that Deadpool knows that he is a fictional character. He knows that the world he lives in is not real. So to already show that they're gonna clearly play on that throughout this movie, I think is really intriguing for it. However, the icing on the cake is when he gets dropped off on the bridge and he's just sitting there coloring, listening to music. And then he just turns to the camera and he's just all like, oh, hello. I know, right? Whose balls did I have to fondle to finally get my own movie? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Wolverine. And I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off like, yep, that's awesome. Then we get to the van scene that we had seen in all of the trailers that we have watched 100 times because they're awesome. Deadpool just drops from the bridge into the van and he's just massacring every guy that's in that van. Which leads to a chain of events of him taking out other bad guys that are in these other vans. And the scene is just awesome. I mean, Deadpool is just kicking complete ass. The violence is really bloody and intense and so entertaining. And Deadpool is just talking shit and cracking jokes the whole time as he does it, which just makes the scene that much more awesome. What's even better though is when the van has officially tumbled over and all these other bad guys are just waiting for Deadpool to come out with their guns. Deadpool's just all like, I only have 12 bullets, so you guys are gonna have to share. And he's just taking them all out one by one. Well, except for the 3 guys that he killed with 1 bullet. That was pretty sick. And of course the bad guys, they're trying to kill Deadpool, but nothing they do is hurting him. And then the last guy he kills by just running his sword straight through him. Then what's funny is you hear Deadpool narrating. You're probably thinking, my boyfriend told me this is a superhero movie, but the guy in the suit just turned the other guy into a fucking kebab. So now we go back 1 year to see how it all began. During this time, Deadpool was just Wade Wilson. He was a mercenary for hire. He would frequently go to this bar where his best friend TJ Miller would work, and there were all these other mercenaries betting on which one would die in this chalkboard called the Deadpool. Then he meets this prostitute named Vanessa, and the two just immediately bond by talking about these really fucked up childhoods they apparently had. But what's really funny about it is the way they talk about it, because you don't know if it's actually something that really happened or if they're just playing off each other's sarcasm. Either way, you just see right away that these two are clearly meant for each other. And then we just get a giant montage of them having sex together on numerous occasions. But then along the way, Wade proposes to Vanessa with a ring pop, and she says yes. Yeah, guys, you know she's the one if she accepts a ring pop proposal from you. So everything looks like it's all happy and good for Wade until he is diagnosed with terminal cancer. And obviously after that, his chances of survival are starting to look pretty slim to none. But what I thought made this moment in the movie great is the fact that Wade is not really concerned with the thought of dying. He's concerned about the thought of what Vanessa's life will be like if he's no longer a part of it. Which was a pleasantly surprising turn for this movie because this whole time it's just been really funny and absurd for the most part, and now it's decided to take a turn to being serious. It shows here that Wade Wilson really does care for the people in his life, and he wants to survive cancer, not so that he can live the life that he wants, but so that he can give Vanessa the life that she wants. I thought it brought a lot more to this movie in seeing that from the guy who becomes Deadpool. Now the movie goes back to the moment from the beginning of the movie when Deadpool just took out all of these thugs. And before Deadpool can do anything further, he gets confronted by 2 members of the X-Men, Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Yeah, and Deadpool says what we were all thinking when we heard that name. Negasonic what the shit? That's like the coolest name ever! So Colossus feels that Deadpool is way too irresponsible in this, and he feels he should join the X-Men to discover what it truly means to be a superhero. Deadpool, however, continues to profess that he is not a superhero whatsoever, and also starts to get really pissed with Colossus. So he tries to nutshot Colossus, but because Colossus is all metal, it just completely destroys Deadpool's hand. And immediately after he does that, he just looks at Colossus and he's just all like, ugh, Your poor wife. Seriously thought I was gonna die laughing after I heard that line. It was just too funny. So now Colossus cuffs Deadpool and he's all like, I am taking you to the professor. And as he's being dragged away, Deadpool's just all like, Stewart or McAvoy, it's really hard to keep up with all these multiple universes. Once again, he's just breaking the fourth wall and it's fucking genius. But he doesn't stop there, because then he turns to the audience and he says, have you seen 127 Hours? Spoiler alert! And he just starts cutting his hand off with a knife, which just frees him from the cuffs. Then Colossus looks at the cuff and it's just Deadpool's severed hand flipping him off. It's just everything that great comedy should be, especially in a Deadpool movie. Now the movie goes back to when Wade was diagnosed with cancer, and we see him get confronted by a guy in a suit at the bar who tells him not only can they cure him of his cancer, but they can give him abilities and make him a superhero. He chooses to go through with it, but once he gets there, he's told by this doctor who goes by the name of Ajax that they need to subject Wade's cells to complete stress and torture in order for them to cure cancer. But the whole time, Wade is still just talking complete shit, especially when he finds out that this guy's actual name is Francis. And then Francis looks at him and he's like, shut up or I will sew your mouth shut. And Wade just says that would probably be the most torturous thing you could put anybody through at this point. He's taking shots at X-Men Origins Wolverine. Perfect. So the torture continues to go on, and Francis decides to finish it by suffocating Wade to the point where his skin and his face just become horribly disfigured. And of course, Wade is able to break free from the suffocating chamber, but now he just goes completely apeshit on Francis, who then tries to kill Wade by blowing up the facility. Wade, however, ends up surviving the explosion, which now makes him realize that this mutation has not only cured him of cancer, but it has made him completely indestructible. The problem is, as TJ Miller puts it, he now looks like Freddy Krueger face-fucked a topographical map of Utah. So naturally, Wade is just completely avoiding Vanessa now that he's broken free of it, because the last thing he wants is for her to see him like this. So he decides to make it his mission to find Francis and force him to fix his face, which leads to Wade making himself a super suit and calling himself Deadpool. So now the movie goes back to the present moment. We find out that after Wade got free of the cuffs that he lives with this really old blind lady now, because living with a blind person means nobody will see how he really looks. But in the meantime, Francis and his partner Angel Dust, or as Wade calls her, Less Angry Rosie O'Donnell, they're trying to hunt down Deadpool before he comes after them because, you know, it's kill or be killed in this world. So they decide to kidnap Vanessa so that Deadpool will come to them. They find her working at a strip club where we see Stan Lee cameoing as the DJ. Hands down, the greatest Stan Lee cameo ever. It's almost too perfect. So they take her away, and Deadpool now knows that he's gonna need help if he's gonna get her back. So he finally goes to the X-Mansion to tell Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead that if they help him get Vanessa back, he will consider joining forces with them. Right before he leaves though, he's like, really big mansion for only 2 people. It's like the studio couldn't afford any more X-Men. But hey, after this movie becomes the success that it is, maybe it will mean we'll get more X-Men in the next Deadpool. So the 3 go to a scrapyard where Francis and all of his soldiers are keeping Vanessa. And I'm gonna say this right now, the final battle that takes place was so awesome. I mean, first you have Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead versus Angel Dust, which is great. I mean, you know what Colossus is capable of from the previous X-Men movies that he was in. So when you see him fighting really well, it's no surprise. But when Negasonic Teenage Warhead is just turning into pure fire energy, charging at these guys and making a great big explosion, it leaves you sitting there like, holy shit, this chick is actually a really legitimate badass. And of course, Deadpool is just taking out all of the guys who make an attempt to face him, and the best part is he spells out the name Francis in all of their dead bodies as a giant fuck you to the douchebag. Now these two throw down with each other, and what's really good about this fight is it was back and forth. It's not Deadpool completely kicking his ass, but because Francis is also a mutant, the two are able to put up a really good fight between each other, which adds a lot to it. And eventually the aircraft carrier in the scrapyard just blows up from all the fighting. Deadpool is able to save Vanessa from dying from the fall, and now he's got Francis at gunpoint. And Francis just tells him straight up that there is no way to fix his face. Wade is stuck like that forever. And of course, Wade is just ready to blow this guy's head off, but before he can, Colossus comes in and he tells him how the defining moment for a hero is deciding to spare your enemy's life. It's a really long and thoughtful speech, and you can hear all the music really kicking in to make it sound more, I don't know, inspiring. And the best part is you're sitting there like, oh, Deadpool is totally gonna blow his head off. And yeah, of course, right in the middle of the speech, Deadpool just shoots Francis in the head. That shows he is still who he is, and it's awesome. So now Wade tells Vanessa that he's sorry for not coming back to her, but he also shows her his face so he can explain to her why that is why he didn't come back. But what I loved in this moment is you'd expect Vanessa to maybe be all like, oh, I don't care if you look like that, I still love you regardless. No, she looks at him like, damn, you do look messed up. But she goes on to say, I can get used to this in time, and also if I get insanely drunk. So they kiss and make up, and all is right with them. But hey, this is still a Marvel movie, so we still got a post-credit scene to look forward to. And there is, but it's Deadpool coming out of a bathroom in a robe, all like, you're still here. It's over. Go home. Ferris Bueller's Day Off spoof. That's awesome. Yeah, he goes on to tell us that they couldn't afford a better post-credit scene featuring Samuel L. Jackson. But he does mention that they are going to make a sequel, and apparently the character named Cable is going to be a part of it. I'm not really sure who that is, but after seeing this movie, I'm gonna take their word that it's gonna be good. So all in all, Deadpool was as awesome as it could have been, and so much better. Ryan Reynolds absolutely owns the role as Deadpool. We all knew from day one that he was the perfect choice to play Deadpool, and he shows that 100% in this movie. It's also just really great to finally see him in a good movie. I mean, when was the last time that happened? All the other characters were awesome. Colossus was great. Negasonic Teenage Warhead was a badass. TJ Miller was awesome. Ajax, aka Francis, was a good villain for this movie. The character of Vanessa was a really likable chick, and the romance between her and Wade Wilson worked great for this movie because of how believable it was. The action was awesome. It was violent and intense and bloody in so many moments, which made it that much more great. And me saying that probably makes me a sadistic bastard. The story was great. The writing in this movie. It was sheer genius. It's some of the best comedic dialogue I have heard in forever. There were countless moments in this movie where I was nearly falling out of my seat from laughing so hard. This is hands down the funniest superhero movie I have ever seen in my life. That's right, it's funnier than Guardians of the Galaxy, it's funnier than Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass is a superhero movie, do not take that away from me. I'll go even further to say that it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life. I'm serious, it was that hysterical. And what makes this movie so awesome is the fact that it was more than just a superhero movie. It's a comedy, it's an action movie, it's a romance movie to a degree. This movie did everything right. I seriously cannot think of any flaws with this movie. It was that great. It's hands down the best movie I have seen so far this year, which probably doesn't say much because I've only seen 2 other movies so far this year. But it will be on my top 10 best list of 2016. I can promise you that. And guys, if your girlfriend asked you to take her to see this on Valentine's Day instead of whatever bullshit romance movies in theaters right now, you hang on to her for as long as you possibly can because she is a keeper. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.